Welcome to Downshift, my name is Matt, and this is the 2024 GMC Sierra HD 2500 Denali Ultimate. And last week we covered all of the most interesting things going on here, but today we finished our week with the truck, and we're going to hit the highlights, the best and the rest, starting with the rest. And the first thing we're going to talk about is price. And yeah, this thing as tested is about $95,000, so it's pretty expensive. And I do get that they're all kind of this way. The Ram Rebel we drove earlier this summer was about $90,000, but this Denali Ultimate is, I guess you could say, missing some stuff. You don't have a power adjustable steering wheel for tilt and telescope, you don't have a panoramic roof, and not all your windows are automatic up-down. And you only have touch-sensitive unlock and lock on your front doors, not your rear. I understand that some of this stuff comes with the segment and class of vehicle, but kind of expected to see some of this stuff at 95 grand, you know what I mean? And number two, it seems like there's some needless off-roady stuff, and I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, but it's more of a strange thing. The reality is no one is off-roading this thing on more than maybe a gravel road or something similar to that. But it still has all-terrain tires, you still have Rancho shocks, and you still have a self-locking rear differential. And you do have an off-road mode. It's one of your two modes. The other is normal. So I guess, again, it's not really a bad thing, but it is just kind of interesting to see an all-terrain tire set here on something 95 grand and the ultimate luxury version of a Denali from GM. And then you look at the steering wheel and you do notice there's something missing up at the top here, and it's the fact that you don't have the Super Cruise system that we did have in the 1500 version of this. Again, I'm not super shocked to see this class of vehicle and this size missing Super Cruise, but the 1500 version of this truck, it did have it and it was really good, so I just kind of want it everywhere. And this kind of goes with the territory, but it's a big truck, 7-foot box, crew cab configuration, and that's kind of the point, but there's a whole bunch of construction around my house and it was just kind of stressful navigating this thing. So just be aware of that if you plan to go anywhere near a city. Although I will say it was easier to drive this thing than that Ram 2500. But then there's the Denali details. Now, as a millennial, I was raised to hate chrome, and I do. But this truck is covered in some dark chrome, and all of the Denali Ultimate stuff is really pretty interesting along the outside and the inside. You've got dark chrome for your grille and your grille logo. And you do have dark chrome in your lower front fascia, although your recovery hooks on the front are normal chrome. Around the side you do have blacked out wheels, but you do have chrome, typical chrome, for your door runner, as well as your towing mirror, your window treatments, your door handles. And then of course your rear badging is also normal chrome, aside from the GMC, which is the dark chrome. But then you have the Denali pieces, the ultimate badging up on your front hood fender, and it's just cool. You've got this relief map or topographical map, and on the interior you have the same detailing throughout the cabin, and it even goes so far as to include coordinates to the supple peak of Mount Denali. To be honest, it's the relief map details for me, especially in the interior and carved into the wood dashboard. But then there's the muscle. We've got a 6.6 liter turbo diesel V8 from Duramax under the hood, 470 horsepower, 975, yes, 900, almost 1,000 pound-feet of torque. You've got the Allison 10-speed transmission wrangling all that torque. And then you've got a low-range transfer case if you need to do any off-road stuff or you need to amplify that gear ratio. You've got about 3,000 pounds of payload on this thing here, but it can be up to almost 4,000 pounds or 2 tons, and you can have up to 22,000 pounds of towing on a Sierra HD. I mean, if you need something moved, I think I know the truck to do it. Now, this thing has a great interior with great detailing, but it also has some really good technology stuff going on here too. You've got an over 13-inch infotainment system for your center screen with Google built in. That means you get the Google Assistant, Google Maps built in, etc. You've also got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to make things super easy to control. And you've got great 360 cameras with all sorts of trailering views and even some trail-related views. And then your center screen in front of your steering wheel, it's a 12-inch digital cluster, and it does some really cool animations on startup and shutdown, and it has some really useful information as well. And you get a head-up display with like 3 different screens of customizable info. And of course you have more trailering stuff than I can even name. And then I want to touch on the drive for just a second. The first thing that I noticed when I was driving this thing is the torque and the turbo whoosh or spool. There it is. This thing makes almost 1,000 pound-feet of torque, and you can tell. But aside from the power, it still rides like a heavy-duty truck. The Allison 10-speed transmission is pretty quick, but it's not exactly perfect. And then the Rancho shocks are still a little jittery when unladen with anything in the bed, and the seating position still towers over everything else on the road. But this thing is so much better than that Ram 2500 Rebel that we were in earlier this summer. The hood is high, but I have more than a 24-inch slot that I can peek through. The seating position is worlds better, even though the pedals themselves don't move. The steering is so much more organic. I don't have 5 feet of play in the center of the wheel. And the brakes, they're just more natural and have more biting power initially. I mean, it took about 10 minutes for me to say, oh yeah, this is the best heavy-duty truck I've ever driven. And I have to say, I think this thing looks pretty good too. It's a great balance of aggressive and elegant. I love the new running lights and the dark chrome face up front. I'll even excuse the fact that the rest of the chrome is normal boomer spec. But can we talk about this paint now? It's called Redwood Metallic, and it is the bee's knees, man. I love it. The thing is massive, so you've got marker lights on the roof. Around the side, you've got 20-inch wheels wrapped in all-terrain tires. And then the front fender gets the ultimate badge, which is very involved. And we talked about it in our feature tour video, so if you want more information, check that out. And then there is the sheer length of this thing. You get a 7-foot box out back with steps built into the sheet metal on both ends, near the cab and at the gate. And you've got multi-pro tailgate out back with 7-ish different types of customizability, including a kicker sound system back there. And of course, you've got a huge tailpipe to harass Priuses, allegedly. It is with great confidence that I go so far as to say that this is the best looking HD truck that you can buy right now. And the rear seats, they're pretty awesome too. They're a great size back here, and they fold up for additional storage, and the seat backs open up, which I love, and you get in pretty much every GM truck, but it's just really cool. And then you get heated rear seats back here, you get all of the topographical detailing, and the contrast stitching, and piping, and all of the great little nuance. And then of course, you've got wood in your door, which is pretty real feeling, and then you've got a suede headliner, which feels very, very classy. It's just nice back here. And the last thing that we'll talk about in tandem with what I just said is, it is just really nice. The interior detailing here is exquisite for something not of a luxury tier or brand, a professional grade brand perhaps. The stitching, the piping, the embossments of the relief map in the seats and the seat backs, the wood and the etching of the relief map on the dash, and then the metal detailing on your carpets is flawless. I mean, you've got a sunroof here. It's not pano, but it's still pretty decent. You've got heated and cooled seats. You've got massage seats. You've got leather-wrapped grab handles up here. I mean, this is certainly the nicest interior of an HD truck I've ever been in. So that's the best and the rest of the Sierra Denali Ultimate in HD form. And like I mentioned before, it took me approximately 10 minutes for me to be like, yeah, this is the best HD truck I've ever driven. So I guess in fairness, we need to drive the new F250. But thanks to GMC for letting us have a go with their pretty impressive HD truck here. I think I am built with HDNA.
Then there's heavy duty DNA. HDNA.
We'll see you in the next one.